Welcome to Pastor Connection. I'm your host, Pastor Travis Schroeder. Our special guest for this interview was one of the speakers at the Acts 6-4 conference, Reverend Tim Hill. Brother Hill is the general overseer of the Church of God. He has authored many books, recorded and authored many gospel songs, and traveled as an evangelist for many years. It was a privilege to meet with him. I hope you enjoy this interview. God bless.
Thank you for tuning in to Pastor Connection. I'm Pastor Travis Schroeder, and I have an awesome privilege here. Tonight we have had this amazing night at the Acts 6-4 conference, and with our guest speaker that is an amazing man of God. He really came in with a word from God tonight, preaching on the Holy Spirit, and just, oh, wow. I'm still shaking from the service tonight. So, but Dr. Tim Hill is the general overseer of the Church of God, and I just want to say thank you for being here with us. Now, I'm kind of lost for words of exactly what to ask, because the general overseer, I'm an Assemblies of God guy, so I know the general superintendent. Sure. Is that kind of the same thing?
Almost identical, just a different title.
Just a different title. Yeah. So, so what do you do? I mean, from what I heard tonight, you seem to travel a lot.
I do. I'm privileged to have, as general overseer, the oversight of the churches internationally.
Okay.
And for the Church of God, we have approximately 43,000 churches around the world. In the United States, our membership is 1.3 million.
Okay, awesome.
Around the world, we're about 7.3.
Awesome.
So I have the privilege of sitting with other counselors that sit with me every month, and we basically do the business of the church. That's the working part of it. The enjoyment part of it is traveling and seeing the church in action and what God is doing around the world, and meeting new friends like I met here tonight at Acts 6-4.
That's awesome, awesome. And I know you've got a few books that you've written, and we'll give in just a minute. I'm sure you have a website that they can take a look at that. He's got a couple of them.
He just happens to have a couple.
Just happens to have a couple.
He's a good man. Give him a raise.
So you want to tell us about it?
Thank you for allowing me to do this. This one is called The Amos Paradigm: Life at the Speed of Favor. I actually wrote this about 3 years ago. Mm-hmm. After the Lord spoke to my heart and told me, He said, I'm bringing you into your Amos 9:13 season. The Message translation of that says that things will happen so fast, your head will swim.
Wow.
One thing fast on the heels of the next. Everywhere you look, blessings, you won't be able to keep up. I begin to see a fast-moving manifestation of God's presence, God's power in so many areas of church work. And that's what that book is about. It's about life at the speed of favor in your family, your finances, your faith, so many things. This one is called Beyond the Mist, A Quest for Authentic Revival. And that's what it's about. It's about revival. And I took that title from Genesis, I believe it's in chapter 2, where the Bible talks about in the early days of creation, there was a mist that came up from the earth and watered the earth because there was no man to till the ground. Without a man, God had to have another plan. But when He got a man, Adam, and he framed him, He formed him and breathed into him, then he became the caretaker of God's vineyard, if you will. Yeah. And the mist goes away ultimately, and it's replaced by rains that fill the rivers, and it's just an amazing story of what happens when God gets a man that He can use, like He did Adam. And so the Lord asked me in prayer one night, how long will you live on a mist when I really want to give you a river? And He said, if you'll give me a man, I'll give you a river. And so it's a longer book. It's about 150 pages, but it's all about revival in these last days. So wrote that in 2010. It's got a little age on it, but I still make it available.
Hey, if it's been around for a while and it's still relevant, then it's got to be good.
I hope so.
So, the Bible's been around for a long time. So, well, I don't want to take up too much of your time. I know you're a busy man, but what I'd like to ask you is, in this world, we're just average guys. I mean, that God has called to do an amazing work, but we face trials and troubles in our own everyday life. We face struggles in ministry. We have concerns. I don't like to use the word fear. I prefer the word concerns or hardships that happen in our life. But as the general overseer, you see a lot of things that are going on in the church that even some of the smaller pastors don't see, or especially everyday laymen in the church. What would you consider to be maybe your biggest concern or the hardest thing that you face in ministry?
Well, first of all of us have got to be concerned about the harvest and the Great Commission.
Yeah.
That's what all this was about tonight. All of our shouting, all of our praising, that's wonderful. That helps us
Right.
to stay inspired. But at the end of the day, we've got to take this and translate that to how we are affecting the Great Commission. And I believe God has called us to finish the Great Commission in our generation. All of that said, that breaks down into different components of concern, as you put the word. One of the great concerns that I have, and one of the great needs that I see among pastors and ministers, is what someone coined as a compassion fatigue. Compassion fatigue. Mm-hmm. And what that simply means is that you and I, as ministers and our friends that are watching, are always giving out, running to hospitals, running to help somebody, preaching to help somebody, praying to help somebody. And if we're not careful, we will become so fatigued and so worn that we have not replenished ourselves. And so we got to guard against that and daily renew ourselves and frequently have a fresh revival. And so that's one thing that I think comes into play with ministers that quit. We have so many that are quitting the ministry and resigning churches,
Yeah.
or looking for a way out. And I don't really want to get into this right now because we don't have the time to develop it. But there's a lot of guys that are looking for some very dangerous escape routes right now, just to get out of what they're doing. And if you're watching, I challenge you to just refresh yourself in the Lord. And the Bible talks about Gideon. I believe it's in the 8th chapter, where he was chasing the Midian army, and the Bible said he was faint yet pursuing. In other words, he was worn out, but he was still going. And that describes so many that are in ministry: faint yet pursuing. And so when you reach that place, you can't lose your head, you can't lose your heart, and you can't lose your hope. The Bible said that we keep our mind on the Lord. Perfect peace He gives us if we keep our mind stayed upon Him. Don't lose your heart for the Master, and don't lose your hope in God.
All right.
So I just want to encourage everybody that's watching.
Yeah, thank you very much. And I so appreciate you being here
thank you,
with us today.
Thank you, buddy.
And I thank all of you with Pastor Connection that's watching for checking us out. And I just look forward to seeing you in the future.